Hi, everybody. It's the weekend edition of RCN News in English. I'm Brian Andrews, and we're joined today by Richard Emblin. Hey, Richard, how's it going?
Hi, Brian. Very well.
What's ahead for Bogota this weekend?
Well, this weekend's going to be another one of these long weekends. It's the version of the Ascension weekend. So people are going to be heading out of town this weekend. Mm-hmm. It's a must. This is one of the last big long weekends before the end of the year. We don't have any more long weekends now until October, Brian. So pack your car.
Time to capitalize on it.
Time to capitalize on hot weather. So I think we're going to see a lot of movement on the roads this weekend. People, I mean, I'm leaving 4 o'clock, going to tank up that car and get out of here by tomorrow afternoon. Mm-hmm. People are going to their fincas. These are their big weekend farms, you know, pools, martinis, rum and cokes, just lounging by the pool for the next 3 days.
The good life in Colombia.
The good life in Colombia, and one of those very nice things. You know, people should get out of here. It's a 45-minute drive usually. You can head west, you can head south. You'll end up in something called the hot country. Now, that word can be a little bit misleading, but hot really here is weather. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a very nice long weekend. I don't know what your plans are, but if you can't get away this weekend, Bogota will still have its festival of summer, and some of the best restaurants will just open its doors, and they will be out there serving great food.
Well, I know a lot of people are going to be jumping on planes as well. Our colleague here at RCN, Vicky Dadley, is getting married in Santa Marta this weekend.
Oh, beautiful place.
Other folks are going to be in Cartagena, but you have a picture, and I'm going to show it to the camera right here. This is in this edition of the City Paper, and this is a beautiful photo taken in the islands off of San Andres, correct?
That's right. This is the island of Old Providence. In Spanish, it's called Providencia, but it used to be an English enclave in the Caribbean. It's one of the best-kept secrets of Colombia, Brian. If you ever get to travel to see anything in this country, I mean, it wouldn't be fair to, say other places aren't magical, but this really is a unique, especially if you love diving. This is probably the best diving getaway in Colombia. Pristine beaches, everything.
Finally, Richard, story of the week this week that you've seen on the news that you thought was pretty crazy from Colombia that the world's been talking about.
Well, the world has been talking about, in terms of Colombia, Brian, there's always so much news in this country.
Politics,
what's your take on what's been really interesting this week?
You know, my favorite story this week was a really beautiful story out of Putumayo.
Oh,
and there were all these little orphans who got to take their very first flight. And Satena Airlines, a big airline here in Colombia, donated this, and we saw a video of all these little kids looking out the window, and they were so happy. And there was like this one little kid, he was terrified, he was crying, but at the end of the story, you could see them all come off the plane with smiles. And it was so nice to see a big Colombian company doing something to make a difference in young people's lives. That was my favorite story.
Well, I think the issue of social responsibility is great. I think this is something that we should be looking more about these companies, these airlines, breweries, any major corporation in Colombia that can be getting involved in the lives of children. I think that would be that's a nice take on a story, because I think if we look in terms of the world, we're always going to get the same stories out of Colombia. So you tell me, what's the best story of the week? Well, it's always the same. There's been another week of scandals and interest rates going up. But the children's story of the Putumayo, I thought, was also a very beautiful story.
Yeah, because the world sees one side of Colombia, the negative news, the political news. But we live here, and we know the other side of Colombia. And there's so many beautiful stories and things happening here. Richard Emblin is the editor of the City Paper here in Bogota. If you're a gringo like me and you don't read Spanish, you can go ahead and pick up a copy. Wait a minute. Who's on the front page?
I know, Brian. Isn't that amazing? Really, it's been wonderful. Brian, you exemplified that spirit of Colombia. I think you made the front page out of your own merit. I think it's very important that you gambled on your life. You took a decision. You lived by it. And, may you be an example for a lot of foreigners that are going to come down and live here. And I think we're going to see a lot of people going to read this paper this month, actually, got a lot of visibility.
Well, Richard, as we say goodbye, we want to leave you now with... I heard this phrase at Juan Valdez. I was having coffee at Andino, and there was this Paisa guy and his girlfriend, and they were sitting there. And he said, "Welcome to my country. I'm so happy you're here." In Medellin, we have this saying. In Colombia, it's not about adding years to your life, but adding life to your years. And that is what I now live by here, because when I'm living in Bogota, in the greatest city in all of Latin America, I think every day I am so blessed to have this new life, this new existence, fabulous friends, fabulous mountains, and great other journalists to work with.
Thank you very much,
News in English. Thanks again.
It's been wonderful.
We'll be back on Tuesday morning with the news from Colombia, because Monday, of course, is a holiday here. But on Monday, we have something very special for you. We want you to check out Villa de Leyva, which is this beautiful town a couple hours from here. And I'm going to give you a tour of the town in Espanol. That's RCN News in English, bringing Colombia to the world.